The life I built. My name is Sarah. I'm 38 years old. I lived, in a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs of Nashville, Tennessee. I have 2 kids, Lily, who is 9, and Owen, who is 7. I drove a sensible SUV. I knew every teacher at their school by first name. I made Halloween costumes by hand because Lily asked me to one year, and then it became a tradition I didn't know how to stop. Before I married Marcus, I was a marketing coordinator at a mid-size firm in downtown Nashville. I was good at it. I liked it. I had a manager who told me I'd be running a department within 3 years. I left that job when Lily was born. Marcus was traveling for work constantly. He was a regional sales director, and we agreed that one of us needed to be the anchor. I was the one who stayed. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd go back when the kids were older, that the career would still be there. 11 years later, I was still home. I don't say that with self-pity. I loved my children with a fierceness that surprised me. I built a life inside that house that was warm and real and full. I had disappeared a little. The version of me that had ambitions and opinions and a desk with my name on it had gotten very quiet. Marcus had gotten very loud. He was successful. Genuinely successful. I won't take that from him. But success had done something to him over the years. Made him bigger in rooms. Made him talk over people without noticing. Made him look at our life and see something he had built, not something we had. I noticed. I had been noticing for years. But I stayed. Because of the kids. Because of the life. Because leaving felt like admitting something I wasn't ready to admit. Until the Tuesday night in October, when I picked up the wrong phone. Marcus and I had the same phone case. Black, simple, the kind you buy in a 3-pack. We'd laughed about it once. We should get different colors. We never did. He'd left his on the kitchen counter when he went upstairs to shower. Mine was somewhere in my bag. I picked up the one on the counter without thinking. It lit up with a message. I read it before I understood it wasn't my phone. Last night was everything. Miss you already. When can I see you again? The contact name was saved as Derek W. Calling the picture of your contact name, a client name I vaguely recognized from his work conversations. I put the phone down. I picked up my own phone from my bag. I went to the living room and sat on the couch and looked at the wall for a long time. I didn't cry. I want to be clear about that. I didn't cry that night. What I felt wasn't exactly sadness. It was more like the particular stillness that comes when something you had been half expecting finally arrives. Like a door you knew was loose, finally falling off its hinges. I thought about going upstairs. I thought about screaming. I thought about throwing his phone through the kitchen window. Instead, I thought, how long? I thought, what do I actually know? I thought, what do I need to know before I do anything? And then I thought something that surprised me. Something cold and clear and completely calm. Not yet. I did not confront Marcus that night, or the next morning, or the week after. What I did, starting the very next day, was start paying attention in a way I never had before. I noticed things I had been too trusting to notice. The gym bag he brought home but never seemed to sweat in. The client dinners on Tuesdays and Thursdays that never used to exist. The way his phone was always face out on the table now. The slight delay before he answered simple questions. I opened a new email account, not on our shared laptop, on my phone, private. I started documenting. Dates, times, observations. Nothing dramatic. Just a quiet, careful record. 3 weeks in, I called a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Walsh, a divorce attorney in Nashville, with a reputation for being thorough and completely unsentimental. I sat across from her in her office with my documentation, and she looked at it and then looked at me and said, "You've been doing my job for 3 weeks." I said, "I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing before I did it." She said, "Good instinct." Patricia walked me through everything. what I was entitled to, what the process looked like, what evidence would be useful, what I should and shouldn't do in the weeks before filing. I left her office with a folder and a clarity I hadn't felt in years. The following week, I quietly opened a personal bank account, the first one I'd had in my own name since before Lily was born. I moved nothing yet, just established it, just made sure the infrastructure existed. I found what I needed to find. I won't detail all of it, because some of it belongs only to me. But I will say this, it had been going on for 2 years. 2 years of Tuesday and Thursday evenings. 2 years of a woman named Christine, who worked in his Chicago office and had apparently decided that my husband's marriage was a technicality. I saved what I needed. I printed what Patricia said to print. I stored it somewhere Marcus would never look, inside a box of Lily's old school art projects in the hall closet. The one place in our house he had never once opened. And then I waited for the right moment. You wouldn't survive without me. It happened on a Wednesday evening, 2 weeks before the dinner party. We were in the kitchen after dinner. The kids were upstairs. Marcus was in one of his moods, the kind that had become more frequent lately, where everything I said seemed to irritate him. I think now that he was probably managing guilt and converting it into frustration at me, the way people do when they know they're wrong but can't admit it. I had mentioned, carefully, that I was thinking about updating my resume. That maybe it was time to start looking at returning to work now that Owen was older. Marcus laughed. Not kindly. Return to work, he said. Doing what? You've been out of the industry for 11 years, Sarah. The field has completely changed. I'm aware, I said. I've been keeping up with it. He looked at me the way he had started looking at me, like I was saying something slightly naive. You think a resume gap of 11 years is just nothing? You think companies just overlook that? Some do, I said, for the right candidate. He set down his glass. Let me be honest with you. You have no current skills, no network, no recent experience. You left all of that behind. I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm just saying that the reality of your situation is that you need me. This household runs because I fund it. If you think you could just walk out and rebuild a career from scratch. I didn't say anything about walking out. I said. I'm just being clear, he said. You wouldn't survive 1 month without me. You have no money of your own, no plan, no career. You need me, Sarah, whether you admit it or not. I looked at him for a moment. I thought about the folder in Patricia's office, the bank account with my name on it, the box of Lily's art projects in the hall closet. I smiled, just slightly. You're probably right, I said, and I left the kitchen. The dinner party. Marcus had been planning the dinner party for weeks. His parents were visiting from out of town. His brother and sister-in-law were coming, 4 of his closest work friends and their partners. It was the kind of evening Marcus loved, him at the center, generous and charming, the successful man who had built a beautiful life. I had, as usual, handled all the arrangements, the food, the table, the wine, the flowers. The night before, I had also printed one final document from Patricia's office and placed it in an envelope. The evening started warmly. People arrived, drinks were poured, the kids came down to say hello and went back upstairs. Marcus was in excellent form, laughing loudly, telling stories, steering every conversation with the ease of someone who had done it 1,000 times. His mother pulled me aside at one point to tell me how lovely the table looked. You always make everything so beautiful, she said. She meant it genuinely. I thanked her, and meant that genuinely too. Around 9 o'clock, after the main course, Marcus stood up. He tapped his glass. He said he wanted to say a few words about family, about what it meant to have people around you who you could count on. About loyalty, the word landed in my chest with a particular weight. About building something together and being grateful for it. He looked at me at one point during the toast, smiled. The smile of a man who believed everything was fine. The table applauded. I stood up. The room went quiet. Not dramatically, just the natural quiet of someone new speaking. "I want to add something," I said. My voice was steady. I hadn't rehearsed this. I didn't need to. I looked at Marcus. "You told me 2 weeks ago that I wouldn't survive 1 month without you." I paused. "I want you to know that I heard you." The room was very still. It's been 6 weeks since I heard something that changed my understanding of our marriage. In those 6 weeks, I've spoken to an attorney, opened a personal account, and put together documentation that covers the last 2 years. Marcus's face did something I had never seen it do before. The confidence left it entirely. What was underneath was not anger. It was fear. "I'm not going to detail any of this here," I said. "This isn't about them." I gestured toward the table. "This is about us. And I wanted you to hear this in front of the people you just toasted, because you spoke about loyalty, and I think that word deserves to mean something." I picked up the envelope from where I'd set it beside my plate and placed it in front of him. "For 11 years, I protected this family," I said. "Tonight, I'm protecting myself." I paused. "I'm not here to fight you, Marcus. I already won." I sat down. The room was completely silent. Marcus's mother was looking at her plate. His brother was looking at the wall. His friends were looking anywhere but at each other. Marcus looked at the envelope for a long time without touching it. Then he picked up his wine glass, set it down, and said nothing at all. After. The guests left early that night. Marcus and I didn't speak until the following morning. The conversation was surprisingly quiet. I think he had spent the night understanding that I had been 3 steps ahead of him for 6 weeks, and that the version of me he had described in the kitchen, dependent, directionless, without options, had never actually existed. The divorce took 8 months. Patricia was thorough. Marcus's attorney tried several approaches. None of them changed the fundamental reality of what the documentation showed, or what I was entitled to. I kept the house. The kids stayed with me, primary custody, with Marcus having them every other weekend and 1 evening a week. The financial settlement gave me the foundation I needed to restart, without starting from zero. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I went back to work. A small marketing agency in Nashville, not the same one, a newer one, the kind that values people who understand both strategy and the reality of building something from limited resources. My manager told me in my 2nd week that I was the most organized person she'd ever hired. I didn't tell her why. Lily asked me once, about 6 months after everything, whether I was okay. We were in the kitchen making her Halloween costume. She wanted to be an astronaut that year. "I'm better than okay," I told her. She looked at me the way 9-year-olds look at you when they're deciding whether to believe something. "You seem different," she said. "Different how?" She thought about it. "Like yourself," she said. "Like you again." I kept cutting the silver fabric and didn't say anything for a moment. "Yeah," I said. "I think that's right." Marcus was wrong about almost everything. But he was right about one thing, in a way he didn't intend. I did need to survive. Not without him. That part was easy, as it turned out. But I needed to survive the version of myself that had gotten so quiet I'd almost forgotten she was still there. The one with the desk and the ambitions and the opinions. The one who knew how to plan and wait and move carefully and win. She had never left. She had just been very, very patient. Here's what I know now. The people who tell you that you need them, that you can't survive without them, that you have no options, they are not describing reality. They're describing their own fear. The fear that if you ever realized how capable you actually were, you would stop being convenient. You were never as helpless as they needed you to believe. And the moment you understand that, really understand it, in your body, not just in your head, is the moment everything changes. It changed for me on a Wednesday evening in a kitchen in Nashville, when a man who thought he was being honest accidentally told me exactly what I needed to hear. I didn't argue with him, I just started planning. He told me I wouldn't survive without him, and he was right that something wouldn't survive. It just wasn't me.